I
Yeah.
brought the enemy right in the house. So from from your side, what would you advise the marketing professionals, how, like the things that they should do more of, things that they should stop doing, like things that they could learn about digital marketing so they would be able to deliver better digital projects? Welcome to the Digital Marketing Podcast, and today I have a very special guest here with me, virtually, of course. It's Jazib Naeem, a very old dear friend that I invited here. He has a very strong and good background around digital marketing, so I'm picking his brain to share with you a bit of his experience on digital marketing, and I hope you to learn a lot from his learnings and all the experience he has, not only here in Dubai, but back in London where he is right now. So yeah, welcome Jazz, and you can start talking about a bit about your background.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you, Rudy. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I think I firstly want to say thanks to Rudy for creating this content masterclass for us and bringing this together for us, which I think is something really, really nice that he's doing for the Middle East region. So yeah, guys, look, I've been working in digital for 8-9 years now. I've primarily, most of that time has been spent agency side, working with multiple clients in different industries across different channels to build websites, apps, and address all sorts of different digital marketing challenges. A little bit about me. So, I mean, look, I went to university in Winchester. I studied law. I decided that was really boring, and I left.
That's cool. Coming from law and then jumping into digital marketing.
Yeah, I know. I remember when I was in my second year of my course, I just Googled how to become a social consultant, and that was what I wanted to be, a social consultant. And then I got an internship at a tiny agency in Brighton. I did a year working on Toyota, looking at social marketing and measurement and conversation analysis and brand strategy and all sorts of stuff as an account executive. And then I never really looked back. I've been managing projects, digital projects of multiple sizes and shapes, for the last 7-8 years. I've worked on automotive accounts. I've worked with FMCG clients. I've worked with retail clients. There's been pharmacy and kind of healthcare projects. And then obviously my time, I spent 2 years in Dubai, part of that living with Rudy for a long time. And working
Fun
with,
time.
Working with Proximity BBDO on multiple different clients across the Middle East region. But I think it's definitely been something that I've really enjoyed. I've really enjoyed being a project manager. I've really enjoyed working in the digital agency space, and I think something me and Rudy really bonded over. I think in our various
that's true.
Workout sessions, we always bouncing ideas off each other. And that's brought me back here to today. So I'm now back in London, working for an agency here, delivering all sorts of different kinds of digital projects. And it's been really cool, and I've learned a lot along the way. Right, Rudy?
And why that move? Like you came from a strong market, the London market, and came to Dubai. Like first question, why you came to Dubai? And then 2 years later, you just went back. Like, oh, done.
That was it. Job done, wrapped up. No, it's a really good question. I think at the time that I made the move to Dubai, it was a point in my career where I kind of experienced and seen the UK market and how mature it was with all of the different clients and types of projects that we were doing. And there was an opportunity for me when the Dubai role came up to go out and experience something that, at that time in my mind was like something completely new and something that not really a lot of people from the agency world, especially at my age and in my position from a project management perspective, I'd ever spoken to or experienced. And so it was an opportunity for me to really come out to Dubai, obviously to experience a new culture and a new way of life and a new way of working and living, but at the same time work with a market that I'd probably say is more reactive and generally actually faster paced than London, with clients that actually, when you really look into it, they want to do innovative things, but they just don't know how. And that's where the expertise of the experience that I picked up in the UK really came in, and where I really thought I could use that to help shape different projects and help deliver different kinds of experiences. And to do that somewhere like Dubai obviously would just be amazing, right? And so, I mean, that was a big
name in the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Dubai.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the key reasons. I mean, there were other reasons as well. There was, there's I won't go too much into them, but the great weather and tax-free salaries and all sorts of stuff, and classic cars, and a great lifestyle that you've never really
nice L4. How was the name? L400
my Lexus L400. You'll have to put a picture of that. You still got the video of me driving. Yo.
I'm calling you. And all my joy and all my love is feeling good.
Yeah, it was, in a nutshell, I think it was really an opportunity to come to a market that I think a lot of people say it's volatile, and I don't think it is volatile. I think it's just people in Dubai, companies and clients and agencies in Dubai, they work at a different pace. And at pace like that, delivering work is so different to what you would do on a traditional or a day-to-day project. And that's that's exciting. That's different. That's something that as a project manager, as a delivery person, is always good to have the breadth of experience of. So that was a big reason why I came over.
Nice. And how do you see the Middle East in terms of marketing, especially digital marketing development, and especially compared to London?
Yeah, absolutely. No, and it's a really good question, really. From my experience, there's definitely a thirst and a want for clients that I worked with to do things the right way and to do things from a best practice perspective for SEO, for analytics, for general digital advertising. There's definitely, the clients want to do that the right way, but I think for me, the biggest gap that I saw was that there was a real lack of knowledge behind how that worked. So I'll give you an example. When it comes to things like keyword searches and ranking, there's some basic rationale that goes into how the Google algorithm works and how it's set up. And there's a lot of knowledge that I think comes with running those kinds of projects that clients, unfortunately, at the time either weren't being explained, or they didn't have the time to actually sit down with the experts to go through how it worked. And I think there's partly, I think the biggest thing for me in terms of the gap, I think, is just an education piece. I think. Do
you think this lack in knowledge, it comes only from the client side or from the agent side? You experience as well this kind of.
I think it's a combination of both. Actually, I think a lot of you have a lot of agency people who claim to know what they're doing, but actually, when you drill down into the specifics of how things work, it's stuff they've just researched on the internet and are just talking about. Not actually, done a campaign or a project where they've delivered something in that way. And at the same time, it's, I think in Dubai, because we're working so quickly, that there isn't the time for agency people to sit down and do the research and do the work and apply the due diligence, because before you know it, the campaign's live and we need to move on to the next thing. And at the same time pressures apply with clients. I feel like a lot of the clients I worked with out in the Middle East, there was internal pressures, there was budget constraints. And I mean, even along with all of that, there wasn't really a time or a space to sit down with the real experts to find out exactly what to do and what the best thing to do was. A lot of the time it was, right, this is what we need to do, this is how we need to get there, let's go. And how can we get there as quickly as possible? And I think that time up front, whereas you'd probably here in other markets around the world is seen as adding value. I think in Dubai it's seen as maybe not. They realize that it adds value, but there's just no time for it, nor is there budget for it. So I think that was something that, yeah, Rudy, you're right. It's a combination of both agency and client side people. And I think just spending time up front, understanding and talking to the experts around what is best is really, really valuable. Even around basic things around how things are set up, be it for a website build, be it talking about the consumer experience, be it talking about best practices and competitors. A lot of the time I found with a lot of projects that was missed out at the start. We went straight into execution. So yeah, you can get naturally teething problems when you do things like that.
Yeah, true. And as you were getting to the relationship with the clients and the products that you were handling, what were the biggest challenges you used to face, like budgets, or they don't understand the timelines that a digital project takes? They usually think a digital project can come in like within a week. It's done, it's ready. So what are the biggest challenges you used to face with clients on understanding and really giving the right value to digital projects?
Really, I think there was probably an underlying theme to a lot of the client projects and a lot of the things that I did, where the ask was like, for example, we have a new campaign, we want to build a microsite that shouts about the brand and the campaign and what we're doing, and that's fine. But a lot of the time I found that everything was driven by senior people in client side roles, CMOs, CTOs, CEOs, where it was so focused on the brand and what the company wanted to do that the actual user experience and consumer experience was something that was always an afterthought. And I found that one of the biggest challenges and one of the most important things was actually spending time with people doing things like user research, doing things like user testing, working for a short period of time, building prototypes to test ideas and concepts for different types of projects. So for a website, for an app, for a marketing campaign, to actually really use case them and actually see, are people going to come to the site? Is someone going to download this app and use it? Like, what's going to happen when we go live? Like, how are people going to, what's the journey for these different kinds of people coming to these different experiences? Why are they coming? And that was probably an underlying theme across all of the projects that I did, in that it was Dubai projects and Dubai clients are so focused on making sure that the brand and the brand image and the brand tone and everything that is to do with the brand is presented in a way that everyone internally is going to like it and sign it off, that sometimes the consumers and the users got forgotten and were left to the end of the experience. That was one of the biggest challenges. Yeah, and advocating CX and UX is something that I know is like big words and like buzzwords that are thrown around a lot. And I think that the value to them, understanding the value behind why that's important and understanding the value behind why doing that work is important, is something that wasn't really high on the priority list for a lot of senior people in Dubai. Maybe that's the nature of the way that Dubai runs and the way operates. Maybe it's maybe it's just the pace at which they work, that they sometimes for a lot of projects, if they're not set up that way, there's just no time. But that was definitely one of the biggest challenges, I think. Along with that, time and budget, I think with any project and anywhere around the world is always going to be an issue. I think Dubai.
Yeah, you're right. I feel that here it's a very fast pace, and people just want to get the project done. Like, I have this on my hands. I need to finish 5 projects this year, and whatever the outcome.
Whatever the outcome, I just need to get it done and fulfill my budget and move on. No, you're absolutely right, Rudy. I think one of the other things that I found was that there seems to be in Dubai, there was definitely a culture and there was definitely a way of working which I think was geared towards ensuring that the more time that you spent doing something, the better it would be. And I think that because we weren't doing the research, or because we weren't spending the time up front for a lot of our projects, that sometimes we spend ages and ages and ages, and when it gets to review, or when it gets to the time to sign it off, even though we spent all of that time, it didn't really necessarily mean we built a great product, or designed a great experience. And I think there's a mindset that the more time and money you put into something, the better it will be. And that's something that is, again, underlying in projects in Dubai. That, yeah, I think it's maybe a cultural thing, perhaps. Maybe it's just the way that projects are run. But that also was challenging in balancing that client need for wanting something that's very high quality versus the agency mindset of, if we work late and spend loads of time on this, it will be perfect. And that wasn't the case a lot of the time. So that was a real tricky balance to find with a lot of projects.
Yeah. And as you got into the challenge that you face, we can jump into the biggest fight in the marketing world, that the agency side and the client side. And yeah. I brought the enemy right in the house. So from your side, what would you advise the marketing professionals, how, like, the things that they should do more of, things that they should stop doing, like things that they could learn about digital marketing, so they would be able to deliver better digital projects?
So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a really good question, because I think a lot of the time clients pick agency partners and they pick people to work with based on relationships, and that's a good thing. Actually, it should be based on relationships, and that's really because you need to work with people on a day-to-day basis. But I don't think that enough rigor or enough auditing or benchmarking takes place across the whole of the market. There's probably a handful, right, of very strong, very well-established agency players who have the majority of the relationships. And due to the strength of those, a lot of the clients say, yeah, actually, you know what, we worked with these guys for 5 years. They've been doing work for us. It's been okay. We don't really, our CMOs are happy. We've got the budget. Let's just carry on. And I don't think there's enough time spent on introspection and retrospection and looking at the work that's been done and how effective it's been, and what have we spent and how much of that we spent and what we're getting for our ROI. I think it's definitely been happening more during the pitch process for new projects. But yeah, auditing and benchmarking for different types of projects across the industry.
Yeah, that's very true. I've been in both sides, and the agency side and the client side. And now from the client side, I see a lot of companies they either rely on the agency, they fully trust, they don't question anything. They just like, okay, you recommend me to do this, so I'm going to do it. And the other side as well, like companies that's like, oh, I know what I'm doing and I want you, the agency, to do exactly what I want you to do. Like, no matter if you think it's right or wrong. So again, I think you're right. It takes a bit of this relationship and auditing and questioning the things that you're doing, and getting metrics and ROIs in place to really measure whatever you're doing, if you're going the right way, and the objectives that you want to reach.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's really, really important. I think another thing that perhaps clients in Dubai are missing is that there's definitely the definite feeling that I got was that if you were considered an expert in your field, that it was, if an expert, a CX expert or a project expert or development expert was saying, look, like, of course we can do anything for you, Mr. Client, but it's subject to the client. Again, you're gonna need to think about this, and you're gonna need to think about if you can get us these assets, or you can, all of these risks, and all of that. They hear all of that, but all they hear is, yeah, we can do it. It's like, actually, no, there's a lot of things that go into, yeah, we can do it, but all of these things. And I think sometimes, even though agencies are considered the experts and agencies are, look, we can do whatever we want for you, there needs to be a reality check at some point where clients realize that for what they're paying and what they're getting and what they think they're going to get isn't actually worth it. And they need to make a decision to stop and to reevaluate if it's scope or if it's what actually the business requirement is, and revisit that realistically, because everything is so time driven. Anything can be achieved. You can pull enough resource and time and people, and anything can be achieved. Absolutely. But whether or not it answers the business need is something that doesn't come from just one client. It doesn't just come from one agency expert. It needs to come from the people. It needs to come from the users and the consumers. And it needs to be a consensus, and there needs to be real research behind it. So I think that's a lot of the time with a lot of clients. I found that let's just find a way to do it. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
And you get it done, but then it's still not a success. And then that's where you really get tripped up. So I think I'm banging on about the consumer and UX and human-centered thinking, but it's really, really important. And it takes time. That's what I'd say to clients. It takes time, it takes money. And sometimes it's something that you can't really just step over or avoid. And it's really important.
I always hammer on that. Like people need to stop thinking about the technology or AI or whatever new things we have in hands, but like focus on the customer. Like just listen them what they have to say, their feedback and the experience. No matter the tool you're using, if you're using such an advanced bot, AI bot or whatever, but just listening.
Sometimes simple is the best way, but I think sometimes that could just be forgotten. And it's like, how do we get to what we need as quick as we can?
Just jump into the new trend.
Yeah, it's a mindset. It's a mindset, and I think it's also a culture. And slowly with time, with expertise and best ways of working, and people from abroad coming to Dubai, bringing the best practices with them, it will get embedded within clients and agencies. But it's a really fast-moving market, and I think in some ways, to summarize it, in some technology and some projects, it beats London and the States and some of the really cool AI and virtual reality and accelerator stuff that the guys in Dubai do. But then in some ways, it's like, well, half the time they're empty and no one goes there. So what's the point of doing all of that? Is there a simpler way to do it? So
yeah, true. I see Dubai, like we always say, like Dubai likes to be the first one in many things, like the tallest building in the world or whatever, like new technology. But yeah, sometimes I see a big lack and like a few steps behind the overall European and the American markets. But yeah, I think we'll get there. And from the good side, it's a big opportunity for who wants to grow here in the region, because there are a lot of opportunities to grow still.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, Rudy. I think the one great thing that I really admired about with Dubai was the hunger and the thirst and the economic backing from both the government as well as investors, as well as the power behind technology. I think Dubai recognizes and realizes that tourism and oil and everything that has powered Dubai, traditionally has changed massively in the last 10 years. And it recognizes that technology is the way forward, and it recognizes that different uses of that through different kinds of projects, products, apps and services, that's the way forward and that's the future. And there's huge opportunity there for the people with the right skill set and the right understanding of the strategy behind why to do something. So I completely agree with you.
And digital markets is right in the center of the hurricane. Like whatever technology you want to implement, you need a good digital marketing strategy to connect all of those and deliver a good experience.
At the end of the day, they're the consumers are the ones that are paying for everything, right? They're the ones we're selling to, they're the ones we're buying from, they're the ones that we want to use all of these digital services. And right at the heart of it, exactly like you said, really, is marketing. And that is something that just can't just be based on a whim. There needs to be a real thought and rigor around it. So yeah, I completely agree with you on that point.
Yeah, and we were discussing before the call about the market here. You probably have a lot of friends here in the agency side. And after almost 1 year with COVID, like, how do you feel the market? Like, even compared to London, we probably heard from friends here in Dubai losing their jobs, agencies really shrinking their staff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a story of two sides. I think in Dubai, from everything that I've heard and seen from speaking to friends, it's incredibly tough. Clients are tighter with budgets. There's less work to go around. There's definitely more conservatism around where money and marketing money is spent. It's spent best on where clients think that people are going to come and use their services and what they want to sell.
To be honest, if you hear the news, everyone's talking about e-commerce, digital marketing. Oh, it's growing so much. Everyone is happy. But come on, let's face the reality. It's not that way. Everyone is pulling the money back.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's a big investment for clients to build an e-commerce site, for clients to build, a digital physical offering, for clients to do some of this cool stuff. And without the right thinking and strategy, and not even that, the hunger in the market, everything's like with COVID and everything's happened, like for months and months we were locked down and no one was leaving their houses. So how much are they going to go out and want to experience some of the things that Dubai is so famous for? So you're absolutely right. From what I've seen and heard in the Dubai market, it isn't as as glitzy and as like free flowing as a lot of people would think it would be. It is a tough market and it is a very challenging market. That's why when you do get the right experience and strategy and product to cut through, it's really, really effective. But there's a lot of noise and there's a lot of things to cut through to do that. And likewise here in London, it's I think the same applies. Clients are more picky now. Clients want to know how much they're paying and what they're getting and what their value return they're getting on their investment with their marketing budgets is. They want to know like how many people are coming to their site, how many people are clicking through on their ad, how much per penny and per pence and per cent, how much they're spending and what they're getting back for that, because they have to reassess what they can spend their budgets on. And I think that's just going to change with remote working and doing things virtually and less business meetings, and now realizing that even like me and you, we're doing this over Zoom and it's, you're halfway around the world. I don't need to jump on a flight to come and see you and have a conversation and do a video. We can do this now, just us. So I definitely think that COVID is a lot of the time we always talked about digital transformation and we need to transform, but actually I read recently that actually it's not that COVID has been digital transformation, and COVID has caused digital transformation to speed up. And I think that's absolutely true.
And to be honest, if you compare the traditional market with digital market, we've been always questioned on how much we are getting out of this activity. If you are running digital marketing, you can measure and you can prove me that you are bringing me money or not. And the other side, the traditional market is well known for I put the money on a billboard and I don't really care how much money I'm getting because I can't measure. And I think the COVID just accelerated this process. Now everyone's every single penny that you're putting behind a campaign, every single lead that you're getting, how much money I'm getting out of it. Is it profitable? It's not. So we pull it off.
Absolutely. And that's where performance comes in. And it's I think the players in the performance marketing field at the moment have been very savvy and I think are best placed to make the most out of this crisis, which hopefully, vaccine pending, will definitely, in any case, even with a vaccine, will definitely mean a completely different way of working for both agencies and clients in the future.
As we say here, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Well, I ran out of questions here. I don't know if you want to add any extra topic or any.
I think to all of your listeners, Rudy, I think you did kudos. You're doing a really good job of helping to educate the Dubai market and helping to just get your voice out there. And I think it's really important with COVID and everything that's happened.
It's already a COVID result. It was born with COVID.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it's really important for people to share their experiences, and it's really important for the experts to educate and raise awareness around what is the best thing to do. And let's do that, because with COVID and everything that's happened, it means we all have to be more transparent with each other and ensure we help each other in the right way, both for our clients and for agencies.
Sure. Thank you very much, and thank you for participating on this podcast. And hopefully we'll have way more things. We have a lot of things to catch up, and
Yeah, absolutely.
we can't
I
do
look-
the around the shisha pipe, but yeah, we find our ways with
We'll
Zoom
find
and
a way,
other
Rudy. Don't worry.
technologies. Yeah.
We'll find a way. Great.
Thank you very much for being
you.
here.